What if one of the most globally successful video game soundtracks didn't succeed by following trends, but by completely ignoring them? That's exactly what Sega is suggesting when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog's music, and the more you look into it, the more it challenges how we think about global appeal in gaming. Because for years there's been this assumption that if something from Japan wants to succeed in the West, it has to adapt, change its style, shift its tone, maybe even lose a bit of its identity along the way. But according to Sonic's lead composer, Tomoya Ohtani, that's not what happened at all. In fact, Sonic's music may have gone global precisely because it didn't try to cater to Western taste. In a recent interview with Billboard Japan, Ohtani talked about the continued success of the Sonic Frontier soundtrack, and even he seemed genuinely surprised by how far it's reached. We're not just talking about a nostalgic fan base revisiting old tracks. We're talking about massive ongoing engagement. The Stillness and Motion album alone has surpassed 159 million streams with close to 100,000 daily listeners as of early 2026. And what's even more interesting is where those listeners are coming from. A huge portion of that audience is in North America, a region you might assume would require a more westernized sound to break through, but that assumption doesn't hold up here. For Ohtani, the realization really hit when he saw official data placing him among Japanese artists with strong international reach. Up until then, he had a general sense that Sonic was popular overseas. He could see it in his social media following, where fans from Europe, the United States, and South America made up a significant portion of his audience. But seeing hard numbers, seeing his work recognized on a global scale alongside major artists, that changed things. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was undeniable proof that Sonic's music had crossed cultural boundaries in a major way. What makes this even more fascinating is that Ohtani isn't disconnected from Western music at all. In fact, he's heavily influenced by it. Early in his career, while working on Sonic Adventure 2, he even traveled to New York to record rap vocals. So it's not like he avoided Western styles completely. He understands them, he appreciates them, and he's incorporated elements of them into Sonic's music over the years. But here's the key difference. He never tried to tailor Sonic's music specifically for Western audiences. There was no deliberate effort to say, this is what Western players want, so let's design the soundtrack around that. Instead, he focused on something much more important, creating music that felt authentic to the Sonic series itself. Ohtani describes Sonic's sound as having a distinctly Japanese pop sensibility, something rooted in emotion, what he refers to as an almost emo feeling. And then on top of that foundation, he layers in modern elements like metalcore, electronic music, and orchestral arrangements. The result is something that doesn't fit neatly into any one genre. It's not purely rock, it's not purely pop, and it's definitely not something you'd hear on mainstream Western radio. But that's exactly why it stands out. It's different in a way that feels intentional, not forced. And this ties into a much bigger shift in how people consume music today. According to Ohtani, the idea that you need to overcome language or cultural barriers is becoming outdated. Modern audiences are more open than ever to experiencing content from different parts of the world exactly as it is. You see it with anime music gaining massive popularity outside Japan. You see it with intentional artists topping charts without changing their language or style. And Sonic's music fits right into that trend. People aren't listening to it because it was designed for them. They're listening to it because it's genuine. If you look back at the history of Sonic as a franchise, this approach actually makes a lot of sense. Sonic's music has always been experimental, from the early days of upbeat, high-energy tracks, to the vocal themes that defined the 2000s era, to the heavier, more intense styles used in modern games. It's constantly evolving, but no matter how much the sound changes, there's always been a strong emotional core running through it. Whether it's excitement, determination, or even a sense of melancholy, Sonic's music constantly makes you feel something, and that emotional connection might be the most universal language of all. There's also another factor that's been boosting Sonic's music in recent years: the movies. The modern Sonic film series has introduced the franchise to a whole new generation, while also bringing back older fans who grew up with the games. Composer Guru Awasaki pointed out something really important about this. Fans who played Sonic years ago are now parents, and they're sharing that experience with their kids. They're watching the movies together, revisiting the games, and listening to the music all over again. That creates a powerful connection across generations, and it keeps the music alive in a way that goes beyond just the games themselves. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it becomes clear that Sonic's music didn't go global because it followed a formula. It didn't analyze trends or try to fit into a specific market. Instead, it stayed true to its identity, embraced its influences without being defined by them, and trusted that audiences would connect with it on their own terms. And in today's world where people are constantly searching for something that feels real, that authenticity might be more valuable than ever. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And if you want to go even deeper, check out my Patreon, where the latest exclusive is a look at whether Xbox and PC are becoming the same platform. It's a really interesting discussion you don't want to miss. Because sometimes the best way to reach the world is not to change for it at all. Until next time, game on.